Hello, so I'm Jasmine Hughes. For this video assignment, I have chosen to do my assignment on Elaine Brown. She was a police and prison activist. Also, she was a member of the Black Panther Party. The memoir I chose to do my summarize for this assignment is her memoir called A Taste of Power. Pretty much the memoir explains like her life, her childhood, and pretty much all the struggles and the accomplishments she gained being a Black Panther member. It goes into detail about race. It also goes into detail about sexism and how gender played also big part in her life while she was part of the Black Panther Party. So Elaine was born in North Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was born on March 12th in 1943. She grew up poor. They lived in a poverty area for part of her life. She didn't grow up with her dad, so it was just her and her mom. Although her mom was poor, she also worked very hard to get Elaine into a private school. So for parts of Elaine's life, she attended a private school, which was also a gifted school for girls. Her school was predominantly white. So while she was attending that school, she studied ballet, and she also studied classical piano. It was also said that for parts of her life, she had African American friends, but she didn't really hang with them, didn't really play with them. She predominantly played with her white friends, and that continued throughout her childhood. So once she graduated from high school, she graduated from Philadelphia's High School for Girls, which was also another gifted school. She attended Temple University. She did not complete her 4 years at Temple. She dropped out after her first semester there. So upon dropping out, she begins to work to a strip club, and the strip club was called Pussycat. And it was a strip club, but she was not a stripper. She was a bartender. So upon working there, she meets a man called J. Richard Kennedy. And J. Richard Kennedy is this white man. He's a writer, music writer, and also he's pretty big in the political world also. So at this age and time, she's 19 years old, and he's this grown man. He's married, but eventually they fall in love and they start to have an affair with each other. Also, I would say this is kind of a connection to how she grew up. She didn't grow up with a father figure, so I'm pretty sure she did not, pretty much experience like true love from a man. So the first man that she's experienced love from happens to be a white man, and also that's who she was used to. That's who she's used to talking to. That's who she's used to having conversation with, because most of her friends were white. None of her friends were African American, and the ones that were, she didn't really, talk much. And I'm pretty sure that's the people that lived around her neighborhood or her housing. So while she's dating Mr. Kennedy, her views and political views for the Black political movements become bigger and bigger. She wants to join, and she wants to become more deeper into the civil rights movement. So eventually her and Mr. Kennedy split up. There go their separate ways. And from parting, she joins a social movement club. When she joins the social movement club, she experiences her first experience of sexism. There, they were there to help, pretty much any Black communities in the city that she was from, protest and have information about what's going on in their communities. So she raised them. Her and other females raised money to buy like food and concessions for the rally that were going up. And that's when she learned that the men are still, even though they didn't put in any work, any money, they were still able to eat before them, also leaving them to starve without eating at all. And at that point in time, she just felt like that really wasn't fair. It wasn't fair how the women did all the work and the men were still rewarded at the end, and the women still had to scrape up what they could just to satisfy the men. And pretty much that's a lot of times in her memoir where you see that even though they're the same color, they're not always on the same team, which is mean like even though they're all black, doesn't mean that gender won't cause a problem either. They're still not on the same team. The men are still superior from the women, and they're still held to a higher pedestal than the women, and the women are supposed to work under the men. So in her memoir, it does explain a lot of times where she felt like she didn't have the chance to become the bigger woman, where she felt like she didn't fit in because she wasn't this vision of what a strong woman should be. So later in her journey, she ends up joining the Black Panther Party, and she joins the Black Panther Party after Martin Luther King was assassinated, and she decides to go to a party which was held for Huey Newton, and that's when she finally, decides that this is what I want to do. I want to be part of this movement. This is what I'm fighting for. This is everything I've dreamed to be in. So when she first joins the Black Panther Party, she's pretty much in a woman's position, and a woman's position in that time and age was below the men. So even though they were still fighting for the same reasons, they still had different positions. So at the time, she was pretty much just cleaning guns, bringing things to different houses and different meat places, and she really didn't have like a big role in the Black Panthers, but she never gave up. Also, when she first started in the Black Panthers, she didn't feel as if she was strong enough to be in this group. She didn't feel like her emotions were, ready to see what the Black Panthers was all about. And I also connected that to like her childhood, because as her childhood, she pretty much was caged in from all that. She grew up surrounded with white friends. She grew up in a white school. So all the things that probably would happen in a black school and in a poorer black school, she probably never experienced. She probably never got to see. So all of this is new to her. These are new circumstances. She's pretty much in a dangerous situation also, because now Black Panther is now viewed as, terrible people. They're not viewed as people who are here to just fight for their equality. They're here for people who's trying to take away from the whites. So when she first joined, it was so much doubt in her that she didn't know that she was going to fit in. She didn't feel like she was going to make it in the Black Panther Party. So after joining, eventually the Black Panther Party began to increase only with her involvement. They were able to set up its first free breakfast for children program, also free busing and free prison program, which also led to the free legal aid program that she helped contributed to. So throughout her life, she accomplished many accomplishments as a black female, and this is also why I chose her, because it's like it gave her view of seeing like the world from her side of view. Because most of the times you hear about, the black men Panthers and the ones that are still wanted, and you don't really hear about what the women accomplished or what the women went through. And she explains how the treatment she receives, like, once she's actually leader of the Black Panther Party. So later on, she goes to explain how she does become the leader. Huey Newton was charged for murder, and he bonded out and fled to Cuba. And before that, he appointed her leader as the Black Panther Party. So she was the first ever Black Panther to ever be a woman in that chair and to ever have that position. So that was very big for her, and that was a big part of her life that was a big accomplishment to her. Also, in the midst of her being the leader of the Black Panther Party, she also became a feminist activist, which was because of the way women were treated also during these times. Throughout her journey, she did say that they had there was a riot that she did go to, and the men were handcuffed, but the women were jailed. And the women did not come out of jail for months. And one of the women that was jailed was her friend named Erica. And ever since that, it was like her mission was just to help women and to help women be strong and to show women this is what we are fighting for. Even though we're fighting with these men, we still have to fight for us at the end of the day, because our treatment is still different from them. Also, throughout her journey, she decides to run for councilman of her city. She loses the first time by 33%. She also ran against a male who pretty much explained, like, with him, it would pretty much be weapons and stuff. Like, they would be able to carry their weapons, and pretty much the Black Panthers stood for that, but they didn't stand for violence. Like, it was part of their mission, to protect themselves, but that still wasn't like their mission and goal. Their mission and goal was to always gain equalism and not to necessarily promote violence. So she did run again, and she lost again that time, for the second time too, by 44%. But throughout her journey, she was able to fund many programs to help African American children. For instance, she funded the Fields for Flowers Incorporation, Mothers for Advocating Juvenile Justice, and also the National Alliance for Radical Prison Reform. Excuse me. So she had many accomplishments as a Black woman in America, and she didn't step down from her leader position until one of the women that was also in the party was told to be beaten from Hughes, one of Hughes' friends, because they had removed one of the males from his position, and they felt like that was disrespect for the men, and the men are still supposed to be superior. So from this happening, she was beaten because it was she who had removed him. And later on in that vision, that's when Elaine was like, you know what, this is not what I stand for. Women have to be strong. We don't have to be beaten out of our positions because y'all are stronger than us. We're still strong, and we still have accomplished so much as women. And she was very in denial of if she wanted to continue, because her and Huey actually became romantics and actually became lovers. And at that point in time in her life, she was unsure if she wanted to continue this engagement with Huey or just leave it alone and, continue to fight for her rights as a woman. And that's what she did. She stepped down and continued to do her own thing for women, and to show that women, don't need men. Even though we are still fighting for the same things, I'm going to fight for the women. And this is how I'm going to portray myself. And this is what I'm going to do for women. So, she created a lot of, so to conclude this video, I just want to say that, while Elaine was, a member and leader of the Black Panther Party, it started off as just a monitoring group just to protect Black people. But once her influences began to influence other members inside, it became a group that began to have more opportunities for Black people. And also she had many accomplishments as a female in America, and as a Black female in America. Once she went back to school to study at the University of California, she became the first person to represent the Black Student Alliance in California's Black Congress. She also went back to Southeastern University School of Law to study law. So she had many accomplishments as a Black woman, and although her difficulties with being a Black woman, sometimes overpowered her confidence and overpowered the struggles that she went through, she was still able to succeed, and she was still able to accomplish so many things that, a lot of people wouldn't be able to accomplish in her position. Thank you.